We train 158 different industries at this point. According to Forbes magazine, there's actually only 158 industries. Did you know that? I thought there were like thousands. There's only 158 industries and then subsets of those industries. And we train in every one of them. One of those big industries, probably one of the top, I would say within the top 5 to 7 industries we train in is the life insurance industry. And so we're going to interview a life insurance salesperson now. This guy over here, he is here locally. He doesn't live here. He lives in Utah. But he was like, hey, I'm down here doing some training for some of my salespeople that, kind of in the life insurance game, you can recruit salespeople as well. And you get like a small commission off what they sell. I'm down here in Phoenix. And I was like, dude, why don't you come into the office here in Scottsdale and we'll interview you right here. Now, we're not in the podcast room because it's still not done. Damn it, Blake. Get the podcast room done. So we're in here. We're going to go through this interview with Cayden. He's going to give you some hors d'oeuvres. He's going to drop some nibbles for you. Okay?
Just little nuggets.
Just little nuggets, little golden nuggets. And we're going to talk about his sales process that took this dude. What did you were making like, I think you did a post today. You said you're making $1,500 a month.
I mean, that was.
How do you survive? How do you survive on $1,500 a month?
Welcome to America.
You're married and you said you have kids and you were making $1,500 a month.
It was a little wild.
It was a little bit rough. Okay, so you weren't living in like a Beverly Hills mansion at the time. And then he got into some of our advanced training, our advanced inner circle program, and went from like 1,500 to 10 grand, then to like 15, then to 20, then now from what I understand, you're making well over 30 grand a month. Now,
yes.
Month after month. Okay, that's good. So now you're making over 30 grand a month. So that puts you on schedule for about $360,000, $380,000 a year.
I'm working about a quarter of the time I used to.
You're working about a quarter of the time you used to. Yeah, you posted on Facebook, you're working like 12 to 14 hours. Okay, so hold on. Help me understand here. For the love of Mary, you're working 12 to 14 hours a day to make $1,500 a month.
It was a wild ride.
That's like $2 an hour.
The month before I got into Inner Circle, I was doing outbound.
Okay.
Dialing 6 days a week.
Okay.
400 to 600 dials a day.
Okay.
Not one sale.
Not
0.
one sale. Okay. So life was not good in the Sanchez household, basically.
It was a little stressful.
Now, hey, when you got on a call with one of our team members and you were making like $1,500 a month, what was that like? I have to know. Were you nervous? You're like, oh, they're going to try to sell me. They're going to try to sell me sales training so I can make more money. How dare them sell me sales training so I can make more money?
I was pretty well already sold.
You were kind of already sold? Why were you already sold?
Coming from, so I'd never been in sales before.
Okay.
I came from a hospital background. That's the only job I ever had.
Okay.
Started working at the hospital 2 weeks after I graduated high school.
Okay.
Worked there for almost 9 years.
Yeah.
And so everything is science-based, obviously, in healthcare.
Okay. So yeah, science, follow the science. Right. Okay.
Got
Gotcha.
into sales, got my teeth kicked in.
Okay. So you're like, I can do sales and then smashed in the mouth. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Been pretty naturally good at everything else other than sales.
Okay.
And
so you got your teeth kicked in.
For a long time. And then I stumbled upon this guy named Jeremy Miner.
Okay. How did you hear of Jeremy Miner?
Just stumbled upon you. You had done a guest interview on another sales training I was on.
Oh, Brad Lee, right?
Yep.
Yeah. You work for Real Financial. Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
so I was following Brad, stumbled upon Brad from Grant Cardone.
Okay.
So it all started with Grant,
So what were you taking Grant's advice when you were first starting to sell?
Clearly it works.
So what was it work? Hey, Grant, we like you. I don't know, kind of old school, but I love his motivational stuff. I read his book, 10X, where he talked about being omnipresent. I'm like, hey, maybe I should start doing a bunch of reels every month on Instagram and TikTok about 8 months ago. So thank you, Grant, for that. But the sales techniques,
they weren't really working. You had done a guest interview on Brad's Closer School.
Okay. Yeah.
Saw you on there and you said, you started talking about everything's based on science.
Yeah.
And I immediately was like, that's my guy.
Based on behavioral science. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Okay. So you get into sales, you got your teeth knocked in. You heard me on some like Bradley thing that I was hanging out. I love Brad. I was just texting him the other day. It's over to, he's got a new house in Nashville or something.
I saw that.
He's chilling out. It's cowboy land over there. I don't know what's going on. I went from Vegas to Nashville for a while. So you got in, you're like, hey, this guy, this resonates to me, Jeremy Minor, human behavior. And you got on a call with one of our team members. Who did you get on a call with?
Marco.
Oh, Marco Cortese. Okay, so this was a year ago. So Marco is still taking a few calls here and there. He's our chief revenue officer now, so he's too cool. He's too busy to take calls. He's the man. Marco's, by the way. How was that like with Marco? What happened in that call to trigger you to be like, dude, I don't want to keep making $1,500 a month. I want to start making this a month. I need to learn more advanced skills. What triggered you to be like, shit, I need to jump in?
I was,
because let's be honest, you didn't have the money. You were making $1,500 a month. I don't know where you got the money.
No, I didn't have the money at all. I was already in credit card debt, and a lot of it.
Okay.
Like 25 to 30K already.
Okay.
And, got on the call with Marco, and he was super helpful. I had a choice to make, and I knew this, but it was helpful to have Marco help me.
Okay.
I had a choice.
Did he kind of help you build a gap from like where you are compared to where you want to be?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Keep going. I cut you off.
Just a choice, like, my choice really, I felt like, was go back to my salary job, start.
So you're going to have to quit sales. That was one of your choices.
Yeah, that was one choice.
Okay.
The other choice was get the right skills and try and figure it out.
Yeah. So you obviously jumped into our advanced inner circle program. Describe the process. Like, what did you start learning even in that first couple of months? And then how did your prospects start changing the way they used to treat you before? Because if you're only making $1,500, that means you're getting slapped in the face on every call.
Oh yeah, I was definitely searching for laydowns.
There's not many laydowns in your industry with those type of leads.
No, there were not. That's hence $1,500.
Yeah.
So what started to really change is the pressure.
Yeah.
People wanted to talk to me.
Yeah.
And they knew they could work with somebody else, but they wanted to work with me.
Why do you think they wanted to work? Like, once you started learning NEPQ, and I'm going to have you give an example of some of your connecting questions here, and then situation, problem awareness, so they can write this down. So make sure you guys grab your IG, grab your pen. Going to help you here. Doesn't matter what you sell. What we're going to show you here is going to help you, anything you sell. But when you started learning connecting questions, like in the beginning of a call that you had, because you're pretty much in your industry, you're mainly calling like cheap age leads, right? Yes. A month old, 2 month, 3 months old. And there's other company insurance agents calling those same leads. So it's like, there's like 10 people calling the same lead for like 2 weeks straight, right? So people are pissed.
At least. Generally, when I've filled out the lead forms that I use, they're generally going to get about 500 to 600 calls that month.
Okay. So they're pissed, right? They're not answering their phone probably 90% of the time. So how did you, before you learned connecting questions, what were you taught to say in the beginning to try to trigger them to want to open up to you? I have to know. Do you remember your old script, the way you used to were trained how to do stuff?
I'm like, so indoctrinated.
Turn it down to like 71. I'm dying in here. These damn lights here. I'm going to start sweating.
Keep going. In the sauna.
Sitting in the sauna in this room.
Yeah, I really don't even remember what I would say before, but it didn't work. I'm so indoctrinated that it like has become a part of me. I don't even remember how I used.
So you don't remember how I used to sell. It's like you have PSD, right? You're like, I got to forget my old stuff. I can't remember. All right, so you started learning connecting questions. They're called NEPQ connecting questions, and it doesn't matter the industry. We train 158 industries, yours included. There's probably for your industry, there's about 4 some connecting questions I think to ask that take the focus off you, put it on them. Give them an example of one. Like, what's one example of a connecting question, and how do your prospects react to that when you ask it?
My favorite one is one that a lot of people, they stay away from.
Okay. What do you do?
It's just, did you find what you were looking for? Or were you still looking?
Yeah, because you're calling outbound leads. So these are like people that are 2-3 months old. You wouldn't ask that if you're calling an inbound lead. It would be different. But for outbound leads, hey, this is Cayden with. Tell us how you start the call. I want them to hear that.
Yeah.
So 3-month-old lead does probably not remember filling out some form 3 months ago, realistically, right? Has been called 500 times by 500 different companies. Yeah. And now Cayden's calling.
So to be like, ring, ring.
Yeah. Hey, hello.
Hey, Jeremy.
Yeah. Who's this?
Yeah, this is just Cayden. I just had a second here to get back to you. I'm not sure if you'll remember this. You might not. I apologize. We just had a second here to process the request. It looks like you'd put in some information a couple months ago about looking at life insurance. Did you find what you were looking for, or were you still looking?
I'm not really sure. Who are you with again?
Yeah, I'm just licensed with the state, so like don't work for any specific company. There's over 30 companies that I do work with.
Yeah.
So just kind of help people look at all their options and see what might fit. Did you have an idea of what you were looking for?
Okay, so you transition right into there. Typically, when you do that, how do most prospects respond?
They relax. It's almost like you can feel them take a...
Yeah, now did everybody hear his tonality? Like he's being dead serious in his tonality there. He's not like, hey, yeah, I'm so excited. We finally got a hold of you. You filled out a form about life insurance? Yeah, I'm really excited. I'd love to talk to you about what we're doing, right? So I'm just exaggerating there, but that's what most salespeople do, especially in your industry, which triggers what?
Just triggers resistance.
Triggers resistance.
What everybody else is doing.
It's what every other salesperson that's calling them is doing the same thing. So you're low key, you're relaxed. A couple keywords you said in there, like you said like I'm not sure. You said something I'm not sure in the beginning. Like I'm not sure if
you'll remember this.
I'm not sure if you remember this. You might not. So you're just very casual, very relaxed. And when you do that, it triggers them to let their guard down. So what he's talking about is you're triggering them to let their guard down where it disarms them. Because if you cannot disarm the prospect where they let their guard down, any question you ask after that, they're just going to stay surface level with you. And they never go below the surface where you're getting them into an emotional state.
And in our industry, then they just want quotes.
Yeah. So then at the end, they're like, well, can you just send me a quote and I'll get back to you if I'm interested?
Exactly. Send it to me. Email me.
Email me a quote and I'll get back to you if I'm interested. And do they ever get back? No. Let's be honest, right? So you guys got to stop the madness. And that's in really a lot of industries, right? So Cayden really calls outbound leads, not really inbound leads for his space.
No inbound. Not even
now situation questions. So there's other connecting questions you have to ask as well. But we don't have time to go through all those. But situation questions. What's one good situation question you ask now, and how do your prospects react to it?
I just ask them. I'm just like, can you walk me through what sort of financial protection you have in place now, or like if something did happen to you?
And what do they typically say?
Nothing.
I don't have anything, or I have a policy, or I might have a work policy. So it could be various things, right?
Yeah, work policy is very common.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I've got a work policy for 150 grand because it's usually like 3 times their salary on average, right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, and then typically, let's say if they said, I don't have anything. What do you typically do at that point?
At that point, there's a few different routes that I want to take it.
Yeah.
The big thing is I don't want to make them feel guilty for not having insurance, because that's what every other insurance person does. And you
don't have insurance? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And then these people, they know what you're doing. They've been sold to forever.
Right.
The demographic we're selling to in insurance, a lot of times they're older.
Yeah.
They are well aware of the old school techniques, and they know what you're doing. So
Adam's asking an interesting question. I think it's a good question on LinkedIn. He says, how do you respond when someone is hostile from the start of the call? A lot of the reason why somebody is hostile on the beginning of a call, Adam, is the way you're coming across by your tonality, in that you're triggering them to go into what's called fight or flight mode. So because of Cayden has learned, because he's one of our clients in our virtual training programs, in our group trainings, he's learned to come across a lot more relaxed and detached. So how many people are typically hostile towards you now? You're still got to get a few.
Some of them still are before I even say a word.
Yeah.
They answer the phone. They're like, who the hell is calling me? Because they're getting so many calls.
Yeah. Okay. How do you respond to that? Let's give Adam an example of that.
Oh, I apologize. I didn't mean to offend you. This is just Cayden. And I get into it.
Yeah.
And usually after I get into it, they apologize to me for being rude.
Oh, I apologize. I didn't mean to offend you. This is just Cayden, right? And then what do you say after that? This is just Cayden and what?
Regular intro.
Okay. Oh yeah. I apologize. Okay, so that's if they're like, hey, who the hell is this? Oh goodness, I apologize. I didn't mean to offend you. This is just Cayden. Looks like you had filled out a form That's some possible quotes for life insurance a couple months ago. You may or not remember that. Something like that, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to imitate you. Okay.
You get right back into it. And generally after that point, they apologize to me and they say, I've just gotten a million phone calls about this. I'm just sick of it. And then,
So when you say, I apologize, I didn't mean to offend you. Oh, you didn't offend me. I've just gotten a lot of calls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And now we're friends.
Now you're friends. Perfect. Exactly. Now, most salespeople like, oh, no, just 2 minutes of your time. Like, I'm just giving you quotes. Like, they just try to go into pitch mode and then it just makes it worse. I think there's another question here. Where do the health questions fit into your call? Where in the process? Where do you put yours?
Yeah, I put them right after the
Connecting questions.
So I set the frame and the connecting and then move into the health questions.
Okay, I like that. Somebody asked that. I think that was Tim. Tim, good question. Tim probably sells insurance there too. Okay, so there's more situation questions you have to ask for your industry as well. But problem awareness, like what's one good problem awareness question you now ask that you've learned? And how do your prospects respond to that?
My favorite one is another one that a lot of people are scared to ask is whenever they tell me they have insurance, it doesn't matter how big the policy is.
Yeah.
I'll just say, what makes you feel like that's not enough?
Now, so tell us the psychology behind why you would want to ask that rather than being like trying to tell them that that's not enough for them. Because that's what most salespeople are like, oh, you only have 100,000. Well, what are you going to do if you die tomorrow? Like, how's that going to pay for your kids' college? And try to make them feel guilty. And then they're just going to push back, right? Because they know what you're doing. So what's the psychological effect when you say, so what has you that's quite a bit. What makes you feel like that's not enough for you guys? What do they typically do when you do that?
They open up. They tell me the real problem.
Yeah.
And so that's when I start to figure out what they're really looking for and why they're looking.
Yeah.
Because some people, they'll tell me, well, it probably would be enough to cover my funeral and final expenses.
Yeah.
But my wife hasn't worked for 20 years. Yeah. And that wouldn't be enough to cover our mortgage.
So now the gap starts to become bigger, right? So they're emotionally open up because it's almost like you're counterintuitively being like, well, okay, but what, that's quite a bit of a policy. What makes you think that's not going to be enough for you though? Well, the reason why it's not enough, Jeremy, is because of X and because of Y and because of Z, which builds more what within? More trust.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. Did everybody get that? I hope you guys got that. This is how you go from what you're making right now to 30, 40, 50 grand a month plus in whatever industry you're now is these little tactics that we teach in our virtual training course and group trainings. There's a lot more to that. He's just giving you
just little
tiny nibbles. We call them nibbles here, no nuggets. All right. So there's more problem awareness questions you have to ask as well, but solution awareness questions. So solution awareness questions help your prospect see what their future is going to look like once all these newfound problems that they didn't even know they had before the call are actually solved now.
Yeah.
What's one good solution awareness question you ask now?
So I think one of the big ones that really helps me is just understanding what they've looked at in the past.
Yeah. Okay.
And so before today, have you been out there looking for extra financial protection, or what have you been doing to make sure that your family would be safe?
Why is that so important to ask them?
Well, it's going to tell me a couple of things. If they've been shopping around, I want to know what they were looking at to know what they kind of understand about the industry. In our industry, all of the marketing is like, oh, get 300,000 of insurance, get $1 million of insurance for $20 a month.
Right.
And, and then you talk to someone who's has cancer and they're oh, I can't get 500,000.
Yeah, exactly. How do you respond when someone's initial statement is, oh, it's already been taken care of. I already got a policy or I already found something. How do you respond to that? When you're like, have you found what you're looking for? Are you still looking? And they're like, yeah, I found what I'm looking for. What do you typically do?
Say, oh, perfect. Let me get that updated for you so that I can just stop calling you. What company did you end up getting set up with?
Oh, that's smooth. Yeah. Oh, yeah, perfect. I can go and get that updated so all those other insurance agents stop calling you then. Would that help? Okay, good. Who did you end up going with? And they say, oh, I went with XYZ company. And you ask?
Depending on the company. The thing about it is with NEPQ, I'm no longer selling, I'm helping.
Yeah, sure.
Sure, you're still selling.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
But you're truly helping. So if they tell me a company that's actually a really good fit, maybe it's one that I work with.
Yeah.
I'm happy to, figure out more about the policy and then if it's a good policy, I just say, perfect, you stick with that. That's a great policy.
And you just move on to the next lead, right? Okay.
Exactly. I don't have to sell every
But
lead
let's
anymore.
say you find out that maybe
It's a rinky-dink company.
rinky-dink company or not such a good policy for them, then how do you open them up from that? Like, oh, who did you go with? And do you ask like, what is your monthly on that, or what do you do?
So, like what made you decide to go with them?
And what do they say?
Usually it's like, they were just like the first people to call me, or they were just the most affordable.
And you say,
I say, okay, yeah, they are really good because XYZ, because they are typically the most affordable.
Yeah.
Most people don't go with them because typically the rate's going to go up as you age. So, they really don't want you to keep that policy late into your life.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so affordable now.
Yeah.
Is that what you were looking for? Or were you looking for something more long-term?
And what do they say? So you kind of planted a little seed of doubt. It's called poisoning the well. So what he just said there, we teach that in the course. You're poisoning the well in a way where they feel like you're helping them, not trying to sell them. And they say
no, something long-term. And then I'll say, okay, I'm not sure if I'd be able to help you. I'd have to know a little bit more to see what options might be there.
Okay, yeah. And hey, just letting you know, like, I'm not sure yet if we could even help you on that, because there's a chance we might not be able to, and you're better off staying with them. But I need to know a little bit more about X and Y and Z, and then I can see if I can help. And then you go right into your first situation question, right? Okay, so consequence question. So there's other solution question awareness questions you have to ask, but consequence question, once they basically tell you why they have to change and what their future is going to look like and how it makes them feel once this problem is solved or problems are solved they didn't know they had, you then want to yank it away from them with what's called a consequence question that basically triggers them to defend themselves on why they need what you're offering now and not later. Okay. Cayden's selling over the phone, right?
Yep, all over the phone.
Okay.
If I do book appointments, typically I'm trying to sell them on that call where I call them.
Yeah.
But if I do book an appointment, I try to do Zoom. It's better for me and for them. I like to be able to see them. They like to be able to see
So
me.
phone then Zoom, basically?
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so what's a good consequence question that you ask?
So with consequence, it's a place where I think a lot of people misunderstand what they're actually doing. I didn't have the money either.
Were you destitute?
It was awful.
Okay.
I was $30K in credit card debt.
So would you still be destitute 1 year later had you not gone into the advanced inner circle?
Oh, it would have been awful.
Okay.
And it was like, when I got on that call with Marco, my wife wasn't home. I didn't think about it. It was like, do or die. There's always going to be, the choice, and you just have to make the choice. What are you going to do? Are you going to learn the right skills and make more money?
All right, perfect. All right, keep going. Consequence questions. What's consequence question you ask?
So consequence question, I like to contextualize it first and share a story that they'll be able to relate to.
Yeah.
To build around that. Maybe it's one that I've seen with my clients, something that's going to help them understand what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And then once I share the story about, that client and what it looked like for their family, I'll say, like, what would it look like for your kids if something happened to you and you didn't have anything in place?
Ooh, that's a smooth consequence question. What would it look like if something did happen to you? Like, what would it look like for your kids when something does happen to you if you didn't have the financial protection? So when you say that, are you leaning in with empathy when you're asking that consequence question?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm moving around the whole time. You have to.
Yeah, because it affects your tonality.
Yeah.
Right? With how you're saying. If you're like, what would it mean for, like, if you're just like a brick, like your voice is going to sound like a brick. All right. So we don't have time to go into your presentation. Commitment questions. What's a good commitment question that you use to get them to commit the next step and purchase, a policy? What's your average size policy you're selling these days?
Usually it's somewhere between 1,000 to 2, or I guess in commissions. That's usually what I'm getting, 1,000 to 2,000 in commission.
Well, but the size of the policy, 100 grand, 200 grand, what is it?
It depends on the client.
Okay.
A younger person, we're usually going to be 200,000-300,000.
Okay. Yeah.
An older person, a lot of times we're only looking at like 30,000.
Okay, for like final expenses or something
final
like
expense.
that. That makes sense. Okay.
There's multiple options.
Yeah, so you make what, one to $3,000 per commission or something,
Yep.
plus the residuals and stuff after a year. Okay,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
makes sense. Okay, perfect. Okay, so hey, thanks for being on. Any last words of advice you would give to like a salesperson on here, or maybe a sales manager that wants to get their team really going, or like even a business owner that's like, man, we're up one month, we're down one month. Like, how do we keep going like this? What would be your words of advice? Somebody just like.
Well, that's like the best thing about this is when I first got into insurance, there were people who were making a lot of money. I knew it was possible, but they had all been doing it for at least 5-10 years. And I obviously didn't have that amount of time.
You didn't have 10 years to make $1,500 a month? You weren't going to make it?
No, I was not going to make it. And so being duplicatable was very, very important to me. It's why I stayed working the more affordable leads, because I can duplicate that with my team. Yeah. And so my word of advice is
didn't you tell me you've got new reps right now that you're training? You just had a rep the other day that had never sold anything that made like $7,000 in one day or something.
Been selling for 3 weeks.
3 weeks, yeah. So it's just the training, just your skill sets. Because you're calling the same amount of leads that any other person in your industry is going to call. It's not like they're, special Google SEO leads that have been searching. They're like, I want to work with Real Financial. I want to work with Brad Lee's company. I'm only going to go through them. So these are just like age leads like anybody else would call.
Yeah, $4 or $5. They are aged. I don't know where they come from. Some of them are surveys. Some of them are, scammy Facebook posts. Right. I don't know where the lead comes from.
You don't care. You just know that they have problems, and you can help them solve their problems. So, yeah. So, so I always ask this question. So you're an individual salesperson, you're married.
Yep.
I know we've done our job if your spouse is happy with you getting into training. How does your spouse feel?
Yeah, she loves Jeremy Minor.
Okay, so it's a little bit better now. So making $30,000 a month, just going out on a limb, $30,000 a month, a little bit better for her.
I'm sure I could make more. I'm only working for maybe, you guys have to understand, outbound wise, I dial for 3 to 4 hours a day.
That's it?
The rest of on Monday,
okay,
I had 28 dials and had 3 sales.
Nice. And those are on age leads. That's pretty good. Okay.
They were.
Well, you're building your team now. So in your industry, you can build a team. You make some residuals off them in the life insurance industries. And that's where your leverage is at too.
It's where most of my time is spent. It's half and half spent with them, training them. And then I have a family. I want to spend time with them. We live in Utah. It's beautiful. We're 10 minutes from the canyon. Yeah. We like to ride our dirt bikes. We like to go have fun. There's an amusement park we like to take our kids to. Yeah. My kids are 3 and 1. Yeah. I don't want to waste this time that I have with them. Yeah. Working my life away.
That's true. Well, especially you work 12 to 14 hours a day for $1,500 a month. What's your closing ratio?
Closing ratio. Depends on what you're talking about. Because your closing ratio could be easily manipulated in terms of.
So I don't know. So some different industries are different, right? Like let's say we're training some company that sells fitness coaching or something. They might be like, well, my closing ratio is I get 10, I get 5 booked appointments a day that book on the calendar, and all 5 of them show up and I close 3 out of 5. So my closing ratio is 62%. But with outbound leads, are they going off closing ratio off people that actually answer, or just the amount of leads you're calling? Because that would be completely different.
Some people even do leads they presented to, which makes it even easier to manipulate.
That's stupid. You can manipulate that. Yeah. So let's say out of the people that actually you talk to and you go through the conversation, they don't hang up at the intent on 10 seconds, typically just average. What do you think your percentage is closing?
65 to 75.
That's really high. That's good. Because most people in your industry don't really track that, because it's all over the place. Like most people don't answer because they trigger fight or flight mode in the first 10 seconds. A lot of people hang up. So they don't really track it. It's a little bit different. Yep. Peter, so Peter's saying qualified leads. So he's saying 65, 70%.
Real quick, this is way more than finances. My marriage is better. I know how to communicate with my wife better. I'm a better father. Yeah. I know how to communicate.
Well, what's the number one reason for divorce? Finances. Lack of finances.
Yeah. So by default,
So by default, the marriage is going to be better. But I know
it
what
was,
you're saying.
communication's better there. Just communicating as a whole is completely different now. It changes your entire life. Now you suddenly have time to take care of your mental, and you can start working out and take care of yourself because you have the right skills. You don't have to work all day.
Yeah.
You can, you know how to communicate when you have a disagreement with your wife or maybe your in-laws or whoever else that everybody disagrees with from time to time.
Yeah.
It's more than just making money is what people need to realize.
Yeah.
It's a good life. You want a good life, not just a good professional life.
Yeah. 100%. All right, folks. Love you. Hey, dog. Hey, tell Bradley I said hi, man. I just texted him the other day. I was like, I'm going to be in Vegas on a training here in a couple weeks. Let's get together. He's like, dude, I'm in my new house in Nashville. I'm like, Nashville? What are you doing in Nashville?
It's crazy. A year ago, I could have never imagined sitting down and talking to Bradley. And now I do.
Well, there you go. All right. Thanks for coming in, Cayden. Enjoy the 106-degree weather today. You better get back to Utah. It's probably 85 up there.
Yeah, I can't wait.
All right, guys. See ya. Hey guys, if you enjoyed these, here's another you can watch right over here. Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below, join us, and we're gonna help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.